Welcome back. Denis Grant from the Seven Network in Canberra is in the capital city today, and it's obviously been the city to be in today, Denis.
Fantastic day here today, Bert. Sad day, really, in a way, too, for John Howard. Plucky little bloke, but he's actually just at this moment, I mean, I guess most people would go and hide, stick their head under a cushion. He's going to have a press conference, and I think that's pretty brave.
Was it a bloodless coup?
Well, it was. They are saying, that is to say the winners, Andrew Peacock and Charles Blunt, who now leads the National Party, they're saying that, look, the two things were running along separate tracks. They really didn't get in collusion and that sort of thing, that it just came over the weekend, and Andrew Peacock saying he was drafted. Don't know about that. Here in Canberra, sometimes the truth gets stretched just a little bit. My private view, Bert, is that Andrew really never gave up the wish to one day be the opposition leader and, of course, to be the Prime Minister.
Denis, what happens in a situation like that? I mean, I guess there are many of us who wouldn't like to have our comments from years gone by necessarily revisited all the time, but he did say in 1983 and 85 and again in 87 that he wouldn't attack the leadership again and that John Howard was going to be there safely for 10 years.
Bert, you know what he used to say? You've got to be very careful about the form of words. What he used to say was, there is no challenge. Present tense, there is no challenge. Not to say that there mightn't be one tomorrow or next week. And I guess he remembers that now that he looks back. But yes, my view is that he never really gave it away. Because remember last time when John Howard challenged him, he failed the arithmetic test. He didn't go out and count heads as he should have done. A lot of people here describe that as stabbing himself in the front.
What about the government? What's being said by them?
Precious little. Of course, there are a few fishhooks in this for the government. Bob Hawke had a better run from John Howard in his terms than he did against Andrew Peacock. That is to say, Andrew Peacock came closer to beating him. So Bob Hawke's got to be a little bit worried about him, but I think they're focusing more on the economy at the moment. You know, Bob Hawke's been saying, no, we won't be going to an election this side of Christmas. Maybe next year, maybe right up to September. Not sure about that. Now that things have changed, the longer he leaves Andrew Peacock there, the more of a handle Mr. Peacock gets on things and the better he begins to look. I think the key in all of this, Bert, is going to be interest rates. They're perilously high at the moment. If they come off their highs, maybe drop a percentage point, maybe half a point, then we might be in a different ballgame. We might be looking down the barrel of an early election yet again.
Of course, this is overshadowing the events this morning in the National Party headquarters. And Ian Sinclair, who's been on record as saying, never give up, never forgive and never forget.
Yes.
He's got a lot to forgive and forget today, hasn't he?
Yes, he has. Old Rhino Hide, we used to call him round this place. And at the press conference that's just happened here at Parliament House, his replacement, Mr. Blunt, was asked whether he used an elephant gun to get rid of the old leader. I think that's a bit grotesque. But yes, I think probably this is the end of a significant era in National Party politics. It's certainly the end of Ian Sinclair, despite that hide. He is getting old. His punches are a bit slow these days. This new bloke's 37, very capable, very, very ambitious.
Well, what happens with Ian McPhee? Because obviously, under normal circumstances, Andrew Peacock would have him on the front benches. But if he doesn't get into Parliament, that's a very interesting situation, isn't it? Yes,
he would. And Andrew Peacock's just a few minutes ago made a very interesting point at the press conference. He said that he would intervene. You'll recall that in the processes of Ian McPhee's pre-selection battle, John Howard sat on his hands, stood back, wouldn't do anything. Peacock's just said, yes, he would intervene, and he has in the past. What he can do for Ian McPhee now is really a little bit up in the air.
Probably does. Is he saying he will now intervene in Higgins?
It's too late for that now
and
because of the weekend pre-selection. But whether
Can't that be opened up again?
No, not without great difficulty. What he could do is slip him into another seat, and that's a very real possibility.
And what about the comments from the political commentators there in Canberra? Are they seeing this, as I mentioned earlier in the program, one of two things, as the rebirth of the Liberal Party or the beginning of the end?
Well, I think depends on which side of the fence they're looking. There's a fairly bit of dirty work going around at the moment. We're all going back to our files and looking for all those phrases that we used to describe Andrew Peacock. The one that's doing the rounds at the moment is Paul Keating's. He said that the souffle couldn't rise twice, which probably a bit unfair. But no, I think it's a rebirth. Andrew Peacock still, remember, is a relatively young man, and he's learned from all these mistakes that he's made in the past. He learned, certainly, to count heads. That's what he's been doing over the last 24, 48 hours. I think we'll see a very different, much more determined Andrew Peacock. He very much does want the keys to the lodge.
Okay, and that election that could be in the air up there this year, do you believe, Denis?
Interest rates come down, Bert. Yes, it could be this side of Christmas. If interest rates remain as high as they are, Bob Hawke will let it run as long as he possibly can.
Okay, Denis, thank you very much. You've got a very heavy day ahead of you, so thank you very much indeed for the time you've given us.
Lovely to be here, Bert.
Thank you. Denis Grant, our political observer and commentator for the 7 Network, and he will be a busy boy for the rest of the day, and of course his reports in 7 News throughout Australia this evening and also indeed throughout the afternoon.